I believe the saying goes, Gator boys stay hot. And, when it's hot, you're thinking of the summertime. And what do you do during the summer? You're dancing, you're boogieing, I guess. The Gators land Boogie Fland. What was it? 11 Shams tweets it at exactly 11 o'clock here on the dot. It's something that we had been expecting to probably happen within the next 3 days. And if it didn't, then something went totally wrong. But it's official. Boogie Fland commits to the Gators. And man, Gator boys do stay hot. This is a perfect example of it. What do you think of this, Tyler?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's huge. Like, this is the kind of pickup Florida needed if they were going to be a team once again this year that's, if not competing for a national title, competing in the SEC, competing to make a deep run in the tournament. Like, obviously, Florida lost so much in the backcourt after this championship team. And, replacing those guys isn't going to be easy. And I'm not saying they have completely, but I mean, when you look at what they've added now between Xavier Lee and now Boogie Fland and also AJ Brown as depth, like they've reworked this backcourt pretty nice. And now they've got a guy who I think in Boogie Fland, who the ceiling is tremendously high. I mean, I think there's still kind of a lot that's yet to be seen with him. Just because of the way his freshman year at Arkansas played out, obviously was limited by injuries for a lot of it there, kind of hampered his development, but like a guy that I think could be like one of the best guards in the SEC, if not the entire country next year, if he hits his ceiling.
Yeah. So you look at his stats last year, 13.5 points, 3.2 rebounds, 5 assists a game. Those are a bit hampered by the fact that he was getting less playing time when he returned for the NCAA tournament. 6 points against Kansas, 6 against St. John, 0 against Texas Tech. But I believe before he got injured, he was averaging around 16 points a game, while averaging about 6 assists and like 4 rebounds. So when he was that lead guard, fully healthy for Arkansas, he was on pace to be one of a top 3 freshmen in the SEC last year, which there were a lot of really good freshmen in the SEC. So that's a big standout for him. He's someone, you mentioned it, you put him next to Xavier Lee. I think it's going to work really well together. You got 2 guards that haven't had much experience at this high level, so Golden can still work him around a bit to what he wants. Probably not 2 conditions to just one thing. But you look at Fland, coming out of high school, 5-star, number 20 overall out of New York. Big things over there. A lot of people had really high expectations, which happens a lot for these guards out of New York. So it's really a big-time get for the Gators. And the money that was discussed, obviously there was the fake number of $7 million that was thrown out there. Yeah. It was probably closer somewhere to $2 to $3 million, which is something that it's one of the higher price points in college basketball. A lot of people doubted, especially Gator fans, that Florida would go around and get someone like this because of those numbers. But man, this really goes to show how serious they're taking this basketball thing now.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point, and I hadn't even really considered that kind of angle of it because, yeah, I mean, I think when I started here, I mean, knowing the 7 million number was definitely not true, but figuring it was still probably a pretty high NIL number, like you do wonder because this is still ultimately kind of a football first school and not necessarily the school you would associate being one of the biggest NIL spenders in basketball. But I mean, yeah, I think it really goes to show between the Golden extension, which makes him one of the highest paid coaches in the country. Not exactly sure where he ranks in that regard now, but I think he's inside the top 5. Obviously,
I think it was 4th.
4th. Okay. I mean, it seems like they're raising the salary pool for assistants. The NIL spending's up. Like this administration seems really committed to maintaining this and trying to win in basketball, which is huge. If you're gonna keep Todd around, I mean, just being real, because there will be teams that will try to pull him away if the opportunity were to arise at like a more of a blue blood program. But if Florida's investing like this, you can compete for national championships here, as we just saw. So I think Boogie Fland is kind of a good sign that that's happening. And going back to what you were saying about him, like, yeah, the way he started off SEC play before that injury. Arkansas had a rough stretch to start off, lost their first 5 SEC games, but in the first 4 of those, like, again, ranked games against Tennessee, Ole Miss, and Florida, he dropped 12, 14, and 15. Like he was, he had those moments. And so, I think like just a really high ceiling player here. And like you said, one that, there was competition for, one that was, you had to shell out a decent amount of NIL money to get. So I think reflects really well on the program, and also just, definitely makes me very optimistic about this team being able to maintain the success going into next year.
Yeah, you may have some inefficiency worries. Only shot 38% from the field goal, 34% from three. Pretty good for a freshman.
Mm-hmm.
But something you have to remember, that Arkansas offense, it was just putrid to start the SEC play. And it never really got to a good point. Like, it got okay by the end of the season where they were able to make the Sweet 16. Probably should have made the Elite Eight. But it was a lot of just ISO play, just requiring these players to go and drop crazy shots that Boogie Fland could make, which he did make. And I remember that Florida game where he had 15 points. And how many threes? He went 2 of 3 from 3, and they were like pretty tough threes. So, I mean, looking at our team and we're saying, oh, that's a tough three. Walter Clayton made a lot of tough threes. So we have a pretty good idea of what a tough one is. But I think you're going to put him alongside Xavier Lee and then Thomas Houck. Ruben Chinyelu yesterday or the day before, I can't remember, announced that he is returning. And you're probably getting Alex Condon back. That's not a guarantee, but all the reports coming out just suggest that Alex Condon probably is returning to Florida. He's going to have a really good team around him. You're going to have depth at that guard position. You're going to have maybe the best bigs in the entire country. I mean, Rick Barnes said Florida had the best bigs in the country, and we return every single one of them. Likely, if Condon does return. But, I mean, this is a team that Bart Torvik, currently without Fland and without Condon, now we have Fland committed, so we'll see how that changes, was ranked 21st on the metrics per the roster. If you add Fland and Condon, that roster jumps up to 4th. I mean, it's really a tremendous job that Todd Golden has done here.
Yeah, I mean, I think the roster is shaping up to be really interesting next year because it's going to be different. And I think this team doesn't necessarily have, at least the way things stand right now, doesn't necessarily have the depth that they did last year. But I think the starting five, I mean, it's a scary starting five. Like, again, it's just going to be a different style of basketball because it's going to be a bigger lineup. I mean, with Houck running the three, and we saw Houck play a lot. I mean, played like borderline starting minutes in a lot of games last year, but we didn't really see him a ton on the court at the same time as Ruben Chinyelu and Alex Condon, which obviously if Condon were to return, we expect all three of those guys are going to start. So much bigger lineup for the Gators, but I like this backcourt a lot too, because I think you've got some flexibility in there. Like Boogie Fland, he's not going to come in and play the point, but he did at Arkansas at times last year and was like semi decent. I mean, averaged like 5.1 assists to 1.4 turnovers, like pretty solid for a guy who no one really expected to actually play the point coming into college. So kind of gives you some versatility there, kind of in how you use him in the rotation. Although obviously I think we both expect that he'll probably spend more time at the two. That's just another option you have with him. So again, there's a lot of really interesting pieces within his game. And I think the ceiling is tremendously high. And I think the floor is also pretty high. Like, I think you're getting a pretty clearly good player, but you might be getting like an All-American caliber player.
Absolutely. I mean, yeah, as a point guard, you look in SEC play alone, 3 assists is his low, and that was against the best defense in the country in Tennessee. And then look, 5 against Ole Miss, 4 Florida, 5 LSU, 6 Missouri. Had a career high of 11 against North Carolina A&T, 9 against, I don't even know what that school is, 7 against Michigan. So you're getting someone who can easily play that point. And you're kind of looking at an inverse of last year when you had Wall, Elijah Martin, Will Richard, where the big question coming into the year was, do they have a true point guard? Now, Walt really developed into being a good point guard, but this year you're going to be running Fland and Lee, where you're having 2 players that could easily be true point guards.
Yeah.
And you're just trying to get the best talent you possibly can with a good versatility. I mean, you look at Kansas, where they brought in Hunter Dickinson, Zeke Mayo. They brought in so many players, AJ Storr and KJ Adams, where it's like they just brought in the best talent possible, but they didn't really mesh well. But you look at Todd Golden, he brings all these guys in, and they end up winning a national championship last year. They really meshed well together. It's like you don't have to get necessarily the highest rated player. You just have to get the one that's really good and fits perfectly into the team. It's a puzzle here. And Todd Golden seemingly has that puzzle figured out.
Yeah, I mean, it's really hard to doubt Todd on the transfer front. I mean, his track record has just been so good. And it's the same reason why, like, we'll kind of see what happens with AJ Brown, but I'm inclined to believe that's going to be a really solid depth pickup and a guy, who plays some pretty significant minutes for the Gators this season. So, yeah, I mean, I think it's pretty clear. Like, Todd's establishing this program, and it seems to me, if Florida's this committed to funneling the resources into the program, it seems to me that as long as Todd Golden's here, this is going to be a perennial top 10, if not better, program in the country.
Yeah, a bit more news. Raphael Barlow of an NBA draft consultant, does TV shows and stuff. Recently tweeted, Florida isn't done. There's one more piece they could add. I'm assuming that's just Condon, but the way it's worded, it's like it's someone that wasn't on the roster. I mean, I'm assuming it's Condon until it isn't,
Yeah.
but
Well, it's
I mean,
one of those
we're not
where
even done.
if it's not I would think it's Condon, and then like if Condon doesn't come back for whatever reason, you got to imagine they're gonna try to portal a big at that point. So
Yeah.
I'm wondering if that just means another piece that's either Condon or a Condon replacement if you were to stay in the draft.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I'm just excited. This team, I'm expecting Condon to come back. Preseason top 5 team, probably. And I mean, guards for days. You got your bigs. Off the bench, CJ Ingram. I don't know if you've been seeing stuff on social media. He's been starting to knock down the three. He could be a true, he's gonna be a true freshman. He could be special as a freshman. And it's a matter of how many minutes is he even gonna get? And it could, but if he is getting minutes, could be very valuable minutes. I mean, what is your final thoughts on this right here?
Yeah, I mean, to me, like when Florida won the national championship that night, I mean, obviously I was very happy, but I also was like, need to appreciate this because a lot of these guys are leaving, and I don't know what this team next year is going to look like, and like frankly, at that moment, I didn't really care. Like, if they took a step back, it's like, so be it. We just won a national championship. But now, like as things stand, I mean, this seems like a team that's poised to be really good again. Like poised to be a top 4 seed in the tournament, poised to, potentially make a run back to the second weekend, if not further. So, I mean, I think being able to, I think the portal allows you to do that, like not have massive setback rebuilding years. And I mean, with the way Todd handles it, like it really is like, I mean, he's building this program into a juggernaut. Like that's really the only way to put it.
Yeah, if you were worried when Denzel Aberdeen left for the transfer portal, went to Kentucky, I guess the problem wasn't money. We had the money, and we probably got an upgrade. I mean, I think Zell could be a really good player, but Boogie Fland could be all SEC. Now you're returning players, Condon, Hauk, Fland, Lee. I mean, these are all guys who could be top 5, top 10 in the SEC, and it's just a phenomenal job Todd Golden has done here. But with that being said, I want to make sure to thank everybody who watches this video. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe, share this to everyone, all your friends. Big time news here. Football starting to heat up. Basketball, we got a lot. We got a couple days. I mean, a couple months until basketball season really if it gets going. But it's a good time. When Condon makes that announcement, it's probably be something special. You can become a member if you want, $2.99 a month. You don't have to. Just like, comment. We'll be extremely happy. And as always, go Gators.